Welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm participating in the Let's Make Snowflakes hop with the Handmade Happiness group. I used a Lawn Fawn rectangle die to cut out an A2 size card panel for the front, and the pattern paper I'm using is Sugar Plum from My Mind's Eye. This pattern paper is discontinued, but you can use any snowflake paper that you have. I'm using a Lawn Fawn stitched hillside border die to cut out a wavy edge on the side of my panel. Then I'm taking a paper punch from Stampin' Up with a snowflake to cut out 2 snowflakes on this side of my panel. You can use whatever snowflake punch that you have. I'll put a list of all the products that I use in the description below. Some of them will have affiliate links. It doesn't cost you anything to use those, but it does give me a small percentage of any sales that the links produce. I'd appreciate if you can use those because it helps support my site. I have a blank card base that I'm using, and first of all I'm using this scrap of gold glitter paper that I'm going to put on the edge. You can use whatever color of glitter paper that you have that matches the pattern paper that you're using. This is a good way to use up your leftovers when you use a 6x6 pad to make A2 size cards, because the leftover piece is just the right size to put on the side. I'm using my ATG tape runner to attach the paper. Next, I'm using my dies from the Elizabeth Craft Designs Polar Bear dies and cutting it out with Copic friendly white paper called Cryogen White. I cut out a banner with the same white paper using a Lawn Fawn banner die, and I'm stamping Merry Christmas with some gold metallic ink. And you can use whatever ink matches the paper you're using. And the Merry Christmas came from Nutty or Nice stamp set from Lawn Fawn. But you can stamp whatever sentiment you want and use whatever shape of banner you would like. I'm coloring my polar bear hat with the BG colors in Copic. I'll put the colors that I'm using in the description below. I'm kind of new to Copic coloring, so I ordered some different Copic papers from the paper tempter so I can try them out and decide which ones I like. Now this one, I'm not coloring a lot, so I can't really compare it yet. But this one is not a true white, it's kind of off-white, but unless you put it next to other paper, you probably wouldn't notice. Also, polar bears are not a stark white. This paper is a little bit more expensive than some of the other papers that I got, but the cool thing about it is that it's iridescent and it kind of looks like it has glitter in it. It doesn't, but that's what it looks like. And so I thought that would be really good for the snow hop and also for a polar bear because they have iridescent fur. Polar bears actually have 2 layers of fur. The first layer is kind of a soft fuzzy layer, which is more like a down layer, and then their hair, which is longer, is a shaft of hair that's hollow, and that gives it the iridescent look. I'm using the lighter shades of warm gray to color his paw prints and also to do shading on the polar bear. And I'm using a liquid glue, it's Tombow Mono Aqua Glue, to glue all the pieces together. It has a small tip on the end, so that helps with putting these small pieces on the polar bear. So the 2 layers of fur that the polar bear has helps hold in air, much like a down coat, and that helps them stay insulated and warm. Also, they have black skin, which also holds in heat. And that also helps them keep warm. And they also eat more fat in the winter and put on a fat layer. And it's supposed to be a specialized type of fat and not called blubber. I forget the long scientific name of it. But anyway, it helps them stay warm. I'm using the blush color to color in the inside of the ears. The first year I was hired on at the St. Louis Zoo, I was an educational interpreter, and it was the same year that we got Cully, our polar bear. And so he was coming after I was hired, and so I was trained to talk outside of the polar bear habitat along with my other coworkers. And so that's where I learned a lot about polar bears. Anytime we were scheduled to be in the area where the bears were, we had to be with the polar bear because, of course, that's where the crowds were when that first opened. Polar bears are critically endangered, and their main problems right now are habitat loss and climate change. The biggest thing has to be with climate change because the polar ice caps are melting, and they use the ice to hunt. So they do most of their hunting in the wintertime, and that's where they put on their fat, because they will stand on the ice while looking for seals. It's kind of like ice fishing. They'll make a hole and grab the seals through the hole. Without the ice, the seals can get away much too easily for them. The biggest way we can help with climate change, which will help polar bears and actually everyone on the planet, is to reduce our carbon footprint. So walking whenever we can, using public transportation whenever possible, and just doing anything that you can to reduce energy use, which will also save you money. When I was shading in, I went a little bit too heavy-handed on the middle of the polar bear, so then I used my colorless blender to blend out. And it still looked dark, but I think that was because it was still wet. Once it dried, it didn't have all the shading in the middle as much as it does now. Since this is part of a hop, after you finish watching my video, please go to the next person. I'll have the link in the description below. And please hop along. I don't know if anyone will be offering prizes, but listen to their videos. And if they are offering a prize, they will tell you how to enter, usually by leaving a comment. But anyway, you can get lots of good tips and ideas for making your own cards by watching the videos. I decided to use some foam squares to pop up my sentiment and my polar bear on the card. Sometimes I use cardboard or several layers of paper because that's a little bit more environmentally friendly. I sure wish they'd come up with a really good substitute for foam. To add a little bit extra bling, I'm adding some jewels to my sentiment. And these are kind of a seafoam color. I'm using my glossy accents to adhere them and my jewel picker. I really like that tool. It makes it a lot easier to pick these up. Thank you for watching. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd really appreciate if you would subscribe, like, and leave comments. Thank you.